wanted to become a coach because I believe in service leadership, and it was really important for me to be involved in a community. I think it's really important that if you've got something to give back to your local community, then you do so. Finishing up football, I took some time off and then really wanted to get back into local sport, particularly football, and I see myself in service leadership, and that's why I decided to get back into coaching. I started 4 years ago, coming in from Aberfeldy Football Club, and I saw an opportunity to senior coach, which has always been something I've wanted to do. And over the 4 years, it's really been about a rebuild, creating a belief, fostering a new vision for the club about a winning success and a culture of winning, and trying to support the culture of the club that it's a very strong family football club. I think I've tried to come in to my best ability to create a winning culture here at the club. It's been a journey of building over the last 3 years, where we played off in a grand final last year, and it's more or less about the process of improvement week to week for us. I enjoy that as part of my coaching journey. I think a good coach is somebody who represents authenticity and integrity and honesty. I think a good coach is somebody who can create a sense of belief and a vision for a football club, and carry out that belief and vision with the support staff around him or her. I don't think a coach can do it on their own, and I think it's really important that a coach embodies what the football club is about firstly, but then has the support staff to help them create an environment for players to become the best versions of themselves. Our assistant coaches vary in age and experience and come to the fold with different styles and different ideas, and there's a lot of coaches behind the scenes who have done an enormous amount of groundwork to get us into the position we are today, and even last year. So, from Liam Cavanagh to Chris Atkins, right through to the more experienced of, Daniel Mangan and Mark Williams, have been terrific, and Matty Hutch rounds us out with the midfield coaching. So everyone plays their role, and that's really important for me to have very strong relationships with my coaches and try to empower them so that they can empower the players that they coach in their lines.
So I came across to Sunshine Football Club about 4 years ago with Barney Hallinan. Came across from Aberfeldy Football Club in the Essendon District Football League, where I played a lot of my football through juniors right through to seniors. So Brennan got the job at Sunshine Footy Club, and then I came across to help him out with being assistant coach.
This first year as a coach or assistant coach, so yeah, I've been pretty involved this year compared to years gone by, just by coaching. Originally I was at Spotswood, and then come across to Aberfeldy. Been at Aberfeldy all my life, mostly, and then been good friends with Barney. He was a reserve coach at Aberfeldy. We grew a close friendship, and he's come along here and coached the last sort of 3 years. He's asked me to come along this year.
And what is your relationship like with the reserves coach? Like, how does that partnership work?
Yeah, really well. Very strong relationships with the reserve coaches, because they're involved in the development process of our players. So it was Nathan Wilson for the first 3 years of my time here at the Sunshine Football Club, and now Vinny Smart, and Vinny's boy plays for me in the seniors. So we have strong relationship whereby I'm involved in supporting him as a coach on the boundary line through the reserves, and him supporting me as the senior coach of the boys in the afternoon. There's a lot of work that goes into pre-season, from recruitment to organising a game style, and then scouting, things of that nature. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. It's not just the coaching staff that has a role in pre-season, but the club. There's a lot of volunteers behind the scenes who put an enormous amount of time and energy into supporting the coaching staff and the players in getting ready for the season ahead.
So during the week we do a lot of revision on footage from our games and also other games from other teams. So there's a lot of correspondence through emails and phone calls, and we talk about what our planning through the week of what we're going to do, what we did well on the weekend, what we didn't do well, how we want to train the boys the week leading up to the game, and then implement that strategy into the Saturday for game day.
So I look after our reviews that we do on a Tuesday night, going through the vision for the game, all that kind of stuff. Also, I deal with a lot of structural stuff, so our siren, our forward stopping structures, also work really closely with the back line, so mainly in regards to the back line, I sort of run peer guided assessments, and we really look at how we can improve, and we've really tried to gel that group together. So yeah.
Mostly work with the forwards, but also do a bit of a opposition analysis, see how they're going, how they're travelling, pick up anything that they might be doing structurally wise, and pass on some information to Barnes where I think can help.
It's probably 10 to 12 hours across footage and also through emails and phone calls and that sort of thing. So then you've also got training as well, where it's a couple of hours, Tuesday, Thursday on training sessions.
Game day is usually it's a meeting, a telephone conversation with one or two of my coaches of the morning. Particularly my reserves coach. I'll be talking to him about certain players I'd like to see in different positions and things of that nature. And then I'm here for the reserves game, watching them, observing, making notes about players who I think could step up, play a role for us in the seniors. And then half time of the reserves, we're meeting out in the ground. Captain Hayden Maloney takes the boys through some key messages for the day. Team meeting, follow the instructions on the board, get ready. And then each player goes about their business quite privately and in their own way, I guess. And then we'll have a short briefing just before we roll out for the game. So, yeah, it's very structured, very organised, quite methodical, boring. But also very enjoyable. And then you notice the energy start to really lift 15 minutes before we have to head out of the tunnel.
And how do you go about coaching during the game?
I try not to.
Yeah.
I want to just play footy, I suppose, which is the challenge in itself, and something I can probably do better going forward. But I suppose it is good. People listen a bit more than when you just yell at them as a player. So, but I suppose I try to look at it pretty analytically and try not to do too much out there. It is good to be able to provide guidance for the zone, and that by being part of the zone. But there are other elements that you need to sort of step back before you speak and all that kind of stuff, which is a challenge, but something we're getting better at.
Is it difficult to get players on the same page?
At times it can be, but we worked really hard really early to fix that. So we had a lot of players that were, all come from different places, have different experience. So I guess the biggest thing for us was sort of establishing what we want to be as a group and then all working towards that goal. Yeah,
the relationships with players, I think, are first and foremost really, really important. I think every coach strives to have open, transparent relationships with their players. Our coaching staff are no exception. I think it starts with the conversations you have, and it comes back to you being authentic and honest and having that sense of integrity about yourself. And I think just building the rapport over time can really support people believe in what you're trying to achieve as well, and trying to bring them along on your journey.
You've got to be close to your players. The relationship's really good. There's a lot of feedback, a lot of talking and phone calls with players as well. So yeah, the relationship's really good with the players, and I think you need that as a coach.
Yeah. How important is your relationship with Barney?
Yeah, it's huge. He gives me a lot of trust. So, like I said, he's hands over to me quite a bit, whether it's during the week or on game day. Try not to do too much on the game day because I have to focus on playing as well. But he gives me a lot of trust too. He's allowed me to develop our own structures and implement them the way I'd like to, because he knows or he trusts what I can do and how it can benefit the team. So.
And how do you perhaps approach a player that is maybe not playing the role that you ask them to?
You do have to be mindful and respectful of how to approach that player and how to, I suppose, communicate properly with that player. Different players respond different ways, so you really need to understand how that player is going to respond to your comments or the way you're speaking to that player. So it is difficult, but knowing each player is the key.
Look, if a player comes off frustrated or he's upset with something that's going on, I like to have a chat with them, and Barnes likes me to talk to them about these things as well. I think I'm pretty good one-on-one with players, so Barnes gives me a bit of rein there.
I want to be known as a coach that's respected, so sometimes you've got to give the hard lines, but if you've got the relationships that are built on the honesty and the integrity that I mentioned earlier about the key principles of coaching, I think it makes it easier to deliver those messages where you need to be really clear about what you're expecting of the players. But I think I'd be interested to hear what the players had to say about that. But I've always been available to the players. I think coaching is not just about putting cones out and running training drills on Tuesday, Thursday, and then on Saturday. There's a lot more to coaching than meets the eye, particularly the conversations that happen outside of the football club about friends, family, future, everything in between. So there's an enormous amount to unpack when you're thinking about coaching. It's not just about the game day preparation. So the relationships are, I would say, are pretty healthy, but there's also a line in the sand where the boys know that I've got a job to do, they've got a job to do.
How do you juggle your work commitments and coaching?
Yeah, that's a challenge. It's a challenge for all coaches, I guess, no matter the level you're coaching. I think you have to be mindful of how much time you devote to different parts of your own life, from family to work to football. But if your enjoyment factor's there and you're passionate about what you're doing and you get a lot out of it, I think you don't watch the clock. It's something that's effortless, that you enjoy the challenge of getting ready week to week.
And how do you deal with the pressures of being a coach?
Reasonably well. I think there's pressure no matter who you are and what role you've got at a football club, from senior coach to reserve coach or any other coach. I think the pressure sometimes mounts because of your own perception of pressure, so you've got to be mindful of reframing your thinking when things go a little bit south. But mostly you rely on the kindness of those around you, the support staff and the team around you to carry out and drive a vision. So the pressure itself is distributed because everyone has buy-in to what we're about here at the club. It's probably not until you've got the cap on your head and you are a coach that you realise that no matter if you're a junior coach or a senior coach, there's pressure, there's challenges, there's expectations, much like any other job really. But underneath it all is you're doing this job because it's a sense of purpose in your own life, you're passionate about it, and you enjoy the grind, the effort and the grit that you have to put in to get the outcome.
What's the best thing about coaching?
I think it's just being involved in a local football club. I think that's the best part about being a coach, is that I no longer can play, but I can be serviceable in other ways. And that's why I talked about service leadership before, because I think it's really important that if you've got the ability, the time to give back to your local community, then I think it's really important to do so. And I guess I get a lot out of the enjoyment factor of just coaching, helping young men be the best versions of themselves and creating an environment for everyone to flourish. The moments that stand out to me are things like today. We've got two debutants who are coming in for their first senior game at the Sunshine Football Club, who have been waiting patiently for an opportunity, and injuries have enabled them to come in and play a role today. I get a lot out of that. I think it's wonderful to see juniors coming through who have been very serviceable, and you get to reward them. Of course, you enjoy the wins, but you also enjoy just the day-to-day, week-to-week process of getting better.
I've been involved with Sunshine all my life, so I played juniors here and also senior football, and been in committee for over 10 years. Previous president stepped down, obviously, and I thought it'd be a good challenge to take the next step. Obviously you've got some good people around us on the committee, our executive committee. We do a lot of work, so a lot of the tasks are shared around, so I thought I'd put my hand up. It's been hard, but it's been good, it's been positive.
So what involves being a president?
There's a lot of admin work, there's a lot of operations work, just day-to-day stuff, looking after juniors, seniors, people ringing on the phone, lots of emails, just sort of a management. It's more like a business these days as well, and just working with a lot of people. Today we've got our 2008 Premiership reunion for the reserves, and also our 1968 reunion. So there's going to be a lot of people in there. We have a past players day every year. It's a bit of a big celebration. So there's a lot of boys in there already. We're pretty excited about today.
And how do you go about recruiting and retaining players?
Retaining players, I think, comes back to the cultivating the environment. I think it's really important that football clubs ensure that they do provide an environment that players want to stay, be part of something bigger than themselves. I think we've done that reasonably well here at Sunshine. The recruitment side of things is taken care of by a broad range of people on committee and the coaching staff, and sometimes even referrals through the players themselves.
Yep, and your work through mental health, how important is the vehicle of football for these young boys?
It's essential. I'm very passionate about the space of mental health. Worked at Beyond Blue, really advocated for Beyond Blue and other organisations, mental health organisations, and even government to step up their game when it comes to supporting local football clubs in the arena of mental health. It's very, very important that as a community, AFL and also local government, supported by state government and maybe perhaps even federal, that they come up with some initiatives to really create and heighten the awareness of mental health at local level. Because as coaches, you know, like I said before, it's not just about what happens Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. There's all sorts of conversations that happen. We only know too well the research that supports that we really need to have some good programs and awareness around these issues regarding mental health at our local football clubs. It's very, very important.
I think if the club has good culture, then people won't leave, and you know, everyone here is pretty much a part of the furniture. They've been here for that long, so that's a really great way to measure something. If people, you know, are sticking around.
Culture's massive. I believe you've got a good culture at the club. Everyone else jumps on board when there's a good culture.
You know, it starts with the culture and everything grows from that, but it certainly is the bedrock of most football clubs, I would assume, particularly here at the Sunshine Football Club.
It's a great family club. It's almost like a country club in the city. You know, I was a little bit hesitant coming across from Aberfeldy, where I've played all my footy and had all my family involved there. Coming across a little bit hesitant, but as soon as I was here, the guys made us feel really welcome and felt like we'd been at the club, you know, for 5 years in our first year.
Oh, I've got so many mates, and my family's here, friends, family, great people. It's like a second home.
Oh, they're a great club. They've got a great culture. It's a real family-orientated club. So there's a lot of good families that have been here for a long time, you know, and you really see that when you walk into the club room.
I think the people make Sunshine so special. We had our mid-season ball last week, and you're seeing 2 new life members come in who have been devoted volunteers for the football club for God knows how long. Seems like they've been here forever. But year to year, there's volunteers who always just step up and give more. And I think the Sunshine Football Club for mine has been the volunteers, the wonderful volunteers who make this place such a special environment for not only the coaches but the players and anybody who walks in the doors. We've probably been renowned for having a family-first culture, which has been fantastic, and we don't want to lose that, but we also want to try and improve our winning culture here at the club too.
And last year you came so close to the premiership. What was the message to the players after the game?
Firstly, it was acknowledging the year that was. We put an enormous amount of time and energy into that year particularly, and it paid off. And I wanted the boys to know that if, you know, grit and effort really do pay off in the end. And we exceeded a lot of people's expectations. We were disappointed to fall short, and all credit to Deer Park. One of the things that we wanted to do was acknowledge their effort in winning another grand final and being as successful club as they are.
And that was a game in the balance in a grand final. They win by 3 points. Sunshine gave it everything.
So that was part of the process of healing, I guess, after a grand final loss, but then acknowledging where our areas of improvement have to come.
We want to make finals firstly, and then do a lot of damage. So I think our best footy is still definitely in front of us, and we've shown the last few weeks in patches where it is. And it wouldn't be remiss of me to say that we can win the premiership. So if we get into the 5, I've got no doubt we could beat any of the teams in there.
Our goals are, at the moment, to really start driving the agenda for wins, bank enough wins to get into the finals and see what happens. Injuries aside, we just want to continue to improve some of the younger fellas who have been given opportunities this year to experience senior football or to get the consistency to play senior football. So that's been a bit of the drive behind the last few weeks. We've got a very, very tough schedule ahead. We know that. We're realists, but we're going to do everything we can to show why we were there last year. We're really looking forward to this challenge.